How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to day 2 of Resurrection of the Overmind. I realize now, after naming the series, that that probably doesn't make much sense to you because you didn't know my computer was called the Overmind before this series began, but that's okay. You're in the loop now, and hopefully you're as thrilled with the title as I am. The title may change, you never know. So at the end of day 1, if you haven't watched that video, what are you doing here? Come on. But at the end of day 1, we set out to get some replacement parts to further test the equipment that we have on hand and figure out exactly what the issue is with the system. And thanks to Amazon overnight shipping, or Prime shipping, it's not referred to as overnight anymore most of the time, I picked up this ASRock motherboard, which we will be using to test our components and figure out exactly what the issue is with the system. So I am thrilled to hopefully make some progress on it this morning in day 2. I definitely don't want this project to get sidelined because this computer is obviously the linchpin to everything that I do. So let's get to it. Alright, so I've unpacked this stylish red motherboard here. I have it sitting on the motherboard box on top of its protective, I'm assuming non-conductive material. No, let's ditch that. Let's just go straight on top of the cardboard. I'll just be careful. One technique that I'm going to use that I have learned from people on YouTube, such as Linus of Linus Tech Tips, is to actually assemble the system outside of the case for testing purposes so that we don't go through all the trouble of mounting it in the case just to discover, oh, nothing works. So I am going to be doing a hybrid system of these two, or a hybrid build of a system with these components here. I'm going to use the power supply that I've got mounted here and just route my cables out to the motherboard, install one of the chips and some of the memory on this ASRock motherboard, and use another CPU cooler just to test it, just as a test bench to determine whether or not the processors are indeed working. So I have here with me the Phenom 2 chip that I have been using. Sorry, poor light. Still poor light. I've been using this guy for a long time, and I'm going to use it as my test chip now in the new motherboard because I have no reason to believe that this chip doesn't actually work, and I have a suspicion that the other that the FX8350 did actually kill this motherboard or something along those lines. So I'd rather test with the chip that I have no reason to doubt than one that I do have every reason to doubt at this point. So it is important to note that I am wearing my anti-static wrist strap. I wasn't actually until this moment. I had it on me, but I did not have the connection connected. I am now grounded. Shouldn't have picked up the CPU before I did that, but live and learn. So I'm going to mount the CPU on the ASRock motherboard, ensuring that I have everything oriented correctly. Let me find my triangle here. Yep, alright, perfect. Let's set that bad boy down in there. Nice, first try. And I'll latch this guy down. And we are nice and secure. Now I'm going to get my alternative heatsink that I'm sorry for this swaying. The camera is mounted on a ghetto little tripod system. I'm going to use this included power supply, this included heatsink that came with the new FX8350, which it's funny that I say it's new because the FX8350 is a seriously old processor nowadays, but that's alright. So I'm going to mount this sucker on here. Ooh, man, this swaying must be killing you. I apologize if you get seasick. So I'm going to drop, wait a minute, where is my, okay, the header's up top. I'd rather work with it this way, especially just for testing. So I'm going to set this guy, wait a minute, make sure we've removed any of the remove this sticker before use stickers But we have thermal compound pre-applied, so we are good to go in that regard. Nice and simple for this first test. Sit down on there. Let's get the back latch in place. There we go. These latch mechanism sockets are always sort of finicky. Oh man, I need to work out a new tripod solution. Again, I apologize. Why not rotate the thing around so you can see both sides of it? Huh. Boy, why is this thing so tough to get on there? I don't remember it being this tough last time I installed AM3 Plus CPU. Holy cow. I feel like I'm doing something wrong here. That's scary. Alright, so after much effort, I was finally able to get the stock AMD CPU cooler mounted onto the new board with the old chip. Don't get confused. I had to pull it on my desk to get a better angle of operation on it and mounted like a champ. I was apparently not looking at it the right direction. I wasn't doing anything wrong, I just didn't quite have the right angle to observe it from. So now, again, with our anti-static wrist strap, we are going to transfer the main power cables to the new motherboard so that we can power up the system effectively over here. So I need to, let me get the board close enough so that these cables will reach. I should have some motherboard power extension cables around should this length become an issue, but I don't think it will be. Come on, there we go. Can we do it? Whew, sitting right on the edge of everything here. Let me untangle this a bit. These 20 plus 4-pin connectors, does anyone else find those annoying? I'm just looking for a motherboard with a regular 24-pin connector. That's all I'm looking for. Or, excuse me, a power supply, not a motherboard. Alright, now I'm going to add some RAM into the system. Let's figure out which RAM slot is the appropriate one for only a single stick. Oh, here we go. A1. It'll be this first red one closest to the CPU. There we go. Okay, so far so good. Now, what I need to do really is add a graphics card, but I'm really nervous about my GTX 980 just sitting here with no frame to support it. It's a really heavy card, and I don't think that the PCI slot has enough strength to support it fully. So let me go see if I have another graphics card lying around, just so we can confirm that the system is posting. And then we will be one step closer to firing the system up. Alright, I was able to find a GeForce 9400 GT. This, I believe, was my second graphics card. As you can see here, it does have a bad fan, but I'm not concerned about it. I won't be installing it in the system, just using it for testing for a short period of time. And I'm much more confident that this card can survive without a bracket supporting it, as opposed to the GTX 980, which is significantly heavier. So, I'm going to install it as you would normally, very carefully here. clearance issue with the bottom here. I forgot that it extends below this. So I'm going to scoot the box over so that we can snap this guy down in there fully. All right, that is looking good. We'll just make sure not to do anything too rough with that. Let me see if my DVI cable over here, which is currently wrapped around everything else under the sun, good, can reach to this connector. It can. Success. Well, actually, that's pretty tight. Oh boy. Nothing could go wrong. Whew! Don't tip over, buddy. Stay where you are. Nobody move. Cool. All right. So, we've got the old chip with the cooler. Cooler is powered. We have our 8-pin CPU power, our 24-pin motherboard power. We've got a GPU in here connected. We have a stick of RAM. That should be everything that we need to post. Now I need to determine what pins I need to jumper on the front panel header to actually fire the system up. Hopefully they're labeled, otherwise I'll be breaking out the manual. Okay, I'm going to break out the manual just in case. They do have labels, but this is not something I want to screw up. Alright, I forgot one thing. We need to connect our external motherboard speaker. Let me pull that out of the old system. Let me see where it's coming from first so we can always put it back. Okay, cool. It's labeled on the old motherboard, so that'll make life easy. Stop swaying, camera. You can do it. We are going to attach the speaker here. I need the manual again, darn it. Alright, I believe we are ready to fire this system up. I'm going to use my screwdriver to short the two power button pins on the motherboard together so that we can get it to boot up without actually having a physical power button to push, but that's all the same. I have attached the CPU, or the motherboard chassis speaker here, so we should be able to hear it post, and I do have it connected to a monitor, so we should be able to see it when it fires up. Let's apply power to the, let's double check everything first, because double checking is always good. Again, I keep taking off my anti-static wrist strap for convenience. I'm going to reattach it. Alright, I believe we're ready. I'm going to apply power to the system. Let's see if we get any motherboard lights, because that would be a good sign. Okay, no light. Stop it. No light on the motherboard. I'm going to bridge the two power button pins and see if we can get it to boot. Well, that was really scary. There's something touching the fan of the case underneath it. So let me remove that connector from the fan, and then we should be good to go. Okay. Let's give it a go. At least we know we're bridging the correct pins. Unfortunately, I didn't hear any post beeps. Oh. Come on. There we go. All right. So everything is the CPU cooler is spinning, the graphics card is spinning, the fans that is, not the actual units. But I never heard any beeps, and I'm not getting anything on my monitor, which is not good. Okay, I just found another graphics card, or another video cable here. It's possible that I've been using... It's possible that I hooked up the wrong video connection. So I can try swapping that, but that doesn't explain why we didn't get any post beeps. Let's carefully disconnect this. And reconnect this one. Are these labeled? No, why would they be labeled? That's too easy. Okay, so in the off chance that this GPU was only firing up one of its ports and not the other, wasn't trying to auto-detect anything, I've connected a DVI cable to both connections on the GPU. So no matter what it does, unless it tries to go and output via the S-video port, which would be ridiculously stupid, we should get video out of it if the system does indeed post. So let's apply power to the system again and see if it will automatically turn back on, because that would sure be convenient. Nah, dog, why would it do that? So let's take the screwdriver and bridge the power connection pins. Sorry, it's a poor lighting scenario at the moment. Ugh. Getting everything wrapped around each other. Be careful just to bridge the two correct pins and not everything else on the motherboard, lest we short it out and kill everything. Interesting. Let's try this again. Oh. There we go. All right. No monitor signal, and the other one is connected to that monitor right there. And we're not seeing anything on either of them. Cool. It looks like the system isn't posting still, which is peculiar, because that means that one of the components in the system isn't working. Now, I'm going to swap out RAM now, see if that happens to be the issue. But currently it looks like the Phenom 2X4 chip that I've got in there isn't working. I don't know that yet, so let's try swapping out a few more components and see what we can get. Alright, so I swapped the RAM module. Still nothing. I was just thinking through it, this GPU does not have any external power connectors, so it would be firing up immediately without any need for anything else. Okay, I just reseated the CPU and I got some BIOS beeps. There were 5 quick beeps out of it. So I'm going to power the system down and check out the manual, which I have
here to determine what those beeps mean. That is the first time we've had even moderate success in a while, so that is good.
Okay, so we just had our first signs of life from the project. The old CPU, the Phenom 2, sorry, trying to get these shadows out of my face, on the new ASRock motherboard with an alternate GPU and a single stick of RAM has given us some BIOS beeps, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, I looked that code up and it stands for CPU error on a previously known working CPU. This is fantastic. So our next step is to put the FX8350 in this new motherboard and see if we can get it to post. And if that is the case, then we assume that the old CPU is dead. If that is not the case and we get a similar code, then it's possible that the old motherboard borked two CPUs or the power supply or something along those lines. If that is the case, I will be sending back this 8350 CPU and getting another, or procuring another through eBay, like a cheap AM3 plus CPU just for testing purposes. Boy, this project is getting much more extensive than I originally hoped for. Unfortunately, I'm out of time on day 2. I've spent way too much time on this project already, and I've got to go to work in just a short amount of time, and I'll be there all the rest of the day. So that is going to be it for day 2. Stick around for day 3. Hopefully we will get some major progress on this project and we will be able to finally sort out what this issue is. And no, I'm not extending this just to make more videos, although that is something that I could see myself doing. All right, that is going to be it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this technical excursion that we've been on. Thank you for watching. Please post in the comments if you think you have an idea what the issue is, or if you want to say anything else. That's generally what comments are for. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.